Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Bible study and the portion where we speak of and we answer things questioned by someone in my comment section. So far, I've only had one person asking questions at the time I'm recording this video, but that's okay. They're asking good questions. Anyway, so the question of the day is, can you point to any specific verses that prohibit polyamorous relationships or prescribe monogamy? I know adultery is expressly prohibited, but that is a different situation for polygamy or monogamy. Thanks, just curious. First thing I want to address is it being different seems to be a matter of opinion, not a fact. Because when you get down to it, when you marry someone and then you go out and have relations with that someone else, that is adultery. Like, if adultery is having relations with anyone except for your spouse. And legally, you can only be married to one person. So even just on the legal side, at least here in the United States, on the legal side, that would be called having an affair. There have been cases where people have gone out and they've led secret lives and had a second spouse. And whenever they're uncovered, it does not go well. And anytime you see it in the Bible, something usually does not go well. Anyways, but that's my interpretation of the events, as we talked about last time in this portion of the show, the study, interpretations. I do understand in some countries it is legal, and that's kind of a different issue. However, it's still, I can't see that being emotionally and spiritually good for anyone personally, but that's me. Now, to get into the actual discussion about this, I wanted to start out by giving the definitions of polygamy and monogamy, which I've seen a lot of misinformation about monogamy thrown around recently in some circles. And yeah, so definitions of these words. Polygamy is the practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. There's specific words in sociology, apparently, about from when it's a man married to more than one wife. Apparently, it's called polygyny, something like that. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly. And when it's a woman married to more than one husband, it's called polyandry. Which, and this has nothing to do with this, what we're talking about, but I found this funny when I looked up the definition for polygamy. In botany, it's apparently the condition of bearing some male, some female, and sometimes some perfect flowers on the same plant. Who knew? It has a botany definition too. But anyway, the one we're focusing on is the practice or custom of having more than one spouse. Monogamy, however, is the practice or state of being married to one person at a time. Or the practice, another definition here, it says the practice or state of having a sexual relationship with only one partner, which in zoology is pretty much the same thing. So, monogamy, one together. Polygamy, 1, 2, or 3, or 4 with same one. You know, so those are the definitions. So, I'm terrible at knowing where things are, even if I know them in the Bible. So, I got my Bible here, and first thing I did when I saw this comment is I looked up, I googled monogamy in the Bible, and I came to first result I got that I clicked on was on creation.com. So you know where I'm getting some of the things that I'm going to say, and knowledge of where the verses are that bring us to the conclusion that yes, monogamy is God's plan for us. And the first sentence in this article is the clearest evidence that monogamy is God's ideal is from Christ's teaching. It's from Jesus on marriage in Matthew 19, here's Matthew, verses 3 through 6. So let's turn to Matthew chapter 19. That's past 19. Verses 3 through 6. So let us read this. The Pharisees also came to him, testing him and saying to him, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for just any reason?" It starts out they're goading him on about divorce and the law. And he answered and said to them, "Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then, they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate." The wording of that very clearly says two, not three, not 4, not any number, but 2. 2 people, 1 and 1, together as one. If that doesn't speak to monogamy, I don't know what would. I mean, you can't have polygamy with only 2 parties. Polygamy requires at least 3 parties, right? The site continues on to say that he cited the Genesis creation account, particular Genesis verse 1, or chapter 1, verse 27, which reads, "So God created man I can't speak. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." Which he did quote that when he said, let me turn back. I should have kept my finger. Which he did say, for this reason, or made them male and female. He even has little quotations in this Bible to show that he quoted something. And he also quoted chapter 2, verse 24. Chapter 2, verse 24. "Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." A man, wife, both singular. They're both singular. That means there's one man and there's one wife, two people, two parties, monogamous relationship right there, and they're becoming one. And he also said, and at the end, let not man separate, which implies that God intended marriage to last forever. I'm not saying that there's never cause for divorce, but there's never, you shouldn't divorce just for any reason that you throw out there. Monogamous. You know, like how animals who are monogamous, they mate for life. Monogamy is meant to be between only two people becoming one, and it's meant to last for life. Now, divorce is a whole nother ball game. I can make a whole nother video on that if you guys wish. That might be a little bit of messy to touch, but I will touch it if you guys wish me to touch it, because I have no problem with getting into the messy things. And it continues on saying that another important bit is the parallel of the husband and wife of Christ in Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians is back here. Chapter 5. Verses 22 through 33. Which talks about how the husband should be the head of the household as Christ is the head of the church, which doesn't mean that the husband makes all the decisions and that wives have no say and they should just do what husband says unquestionably, because if the husband tells them to do something wrong, they should not do it and they should speak up. Like if your husband tells you to kill someone, that's unbiblical. You should not do that just because your husband said so. That's not the way God meant it. Women are supposed to stand at the side of their husbands. Marriage is a partnership, and we're in partnership with God. Ultimately, God's the one in control, but we're still a partnership with us. We still have input in the things that happen in our lives, as we should have input. We as women should have input in our marriages as well. But ultimately, say if we want to buy a horse and our husbands don't want a horse, you can have that discussion and talk about it, and if the husband still says no at the end and his reasons are valid, we should listen to that. If the reasons are valid and if those reasons are changeable, we can discuss changing his mind by changing the circumstances for those reasons being valid. Like if I wanted a horse and I lived in town and my husband said, no, we don't have the space for it, we don't have the means to take care of it, that'd be that. Like when mom says I can't have an animal that because she's like a bunny or a bird or a cat because she's afraid that Dexter would hurt it, at worst kill it. And while I believe I can make sure that didn't happen, I should just go out and get it anyways, because mom is my mom. For one, this is her house. And but they say it in this article that only makes sense with monogamy. Jesus would not have multiple brides, which it's true. The church is the bride of Christ, as in the church, as in singular church, not multiple churches. We're all part of the church of God, but it's one body. It's sort of like the Trinity, how God is 3 in 1. There's God the Father, there's God the Father, there's the Holy Spirit, there's Jesus Christ the Son. They're 3 separate entities, but at the same time they're one entity. If that makes sense. Anyways. The 10th commandment, it says the 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, which is singular, also presupposes the idea that there is only one wife. Let's go to that verse, which is back in Exodus. Where is Exodus? Oh, Exodus is the one right after Genesis. That is chapter 20, verse 17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. And specifically looking at, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, which is singular, which implies that God is expecting your neighbor to only have one wife. So if that is what God is expecting, is that not the standard that God is calling for? If it's what he expects, it's what he believes in. Like, I expect people to be honest with me. That because I believe in honesty. So if God expects a monogamous relationship, he believes in monogamy. See, the next, I'm not going to read all the details on here, just because that'll take a long time. But the next verse it's pointing out is 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2. So let's go there. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitality, able to teach. The husband of one wife. If a bishop, in order to be blameless, has to be the husband of only one wife. So in order to be blameless, he's got to be in a monogamous relationship. Which, from things I've heard, people might call me a misogynist for being pro-monogamy, but no. If anything, I would call it monogamy to be for polygamy, because as a woman, I would not be happy with my husband sleeping with other wives. I would not be happy with that. If anything, I would say polygamy would be a misogyny. Or even if it's the reverse, if it's the woman with multiple husbands. If me as a woman would not like my husband sleeping with other women, why would the men as husbands appreciate the wife sleeping with multiple men. See, polygamy makes no sense to my mind. Polygamy, to me, for the person quote unquote married to multiple people, is kind of selfish. And for the people, or the wives, or the husbands, it's really unfair. And it's degrading to me to treat the opposite sex as if they're just objects. Because that's my viewpoint on polygamy, is that when you're married to more than one person, then you're viewing them as things to collect. You're collecting wives, or you're collecting husbands. And how people who are into polygamy don't see that, it baffles my mind. Especially in this day and age where there's all this hoopla about people objectifying people. But yet, they ignore things that do that they personally think are good, even if they're not good. To me, it's like someone who smokes and doesn't acknowledge the fact that it could, and most likely will, destroy their lungs. I mean, there are some people who smoke who've been smoking a lot for years who haven't gotten cancer. That is true, but it leads to cancer a lot. And even those people who haven't get what's called smoker's lung, where they cough a lot or they have a harder time breathing, at least cough a lot. Coughing a lot seems to be the lowest effect that I've seen. But people don't acknowledge it. It's like if you're in a polygamous relationship and you're ignoring the implications of the emotional problems and the problems with connecting to someone emotionally and spiritually, if you're ignoring the problems that creates, you're ignoring a problem. And I'm sure anyone can tell you that ignoring a problem or not seeing that it's there doesn't mean that it's not there. And one day it's going to bubble up and overflow and boom,